Welcome to Yuva 2.0 Education Week celebrations. On the brightest fourth day of this new year, I present to you Ms. Meenakshi Ramesh. Ms. Meenakshi is MSc, MEd, MPhil, PGDC, DSES, CIDDT. She is the Director of Curriculum Research and Development for Wales Group of Schools, a Program Leader, Professional Development Qualification, Cambridge Assessment and International Examinations, IN 868, Chennai. She started her humble career as a teacher, very surprisingly, of zoology in Delhi University. And the transition from there itself, coming to academics, is a big transition. After the 3 years in Delhi University as an undergraduate teacher in the subject of zoology, she went on to this massive journey into the education side and started as an academic supervisor with Bhaktavatsalam Vidyashram, Korattur, Chennai. And then she became a principal in Vaidishwara Vidya Mandir. After that, she worked with Suddhananda Vidyalaya. And then around 2005, joined the Wales International School as principal and has been growing there ever since. Amongst the many things that I see in her profile, one of the beautiful photographs that I see is the one photograph that she has with none other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the epitome of success and humble success in the world. She has been awarded heavily. Among some of the great awards she has got the Outstanding Educator Award 2004-2006 from Srikriti Teacher Education Center, Indian International School Award by British Council, International School Award Leader by British Council, again repeated. She got the Best District Principal Award by SOF. So the Progressive Principal of India 2017 awarded by Rethink. She was in Colombo as one of the speakers on the topic why PDQs, impact of PDQs on me as a school leader and program leader. This was an international leaders conference held in Colombo in December 18. And she was a guest speaker in Indian Educational Congress in New Delhi, February 29. And the list goes on and on. And there are, apart from many other things that she has done, visited abroad, heavily traveled. She represented represented India while visiting Argentina, in Brazil, South America, group study exchange as part of Rotary International Field of Education. She visited Mauritius for teacher training program, London on an exchange program through British Council, Charles Darwin University, Australia, advanced to Australia Indian Schools video competition, and visited Sweden and Finland for Indo-Swedish student exchange program. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I present to you Ms. Meenakshi Ramesh. Madam, welcome to the Education Week celebrations. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Vinodji, and Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. And let me at the outset thank Shri Padmanabhan for giving me this wonderful acquaintance. And I think I should say here that we both met as co-travelers in a flight. And there started our, sharing ideas, thoughts, and informations. And it so happened that today I'm exposed to so many great stalwarts who have been giving so much of input during this week-long celebration. And I appreciate the initiative taken by Sri Padmanabhan in bringing so many leaders under one platform to reach out to many people in our country, so that when we say that we have to eradicate illiteracy and we have to move towards the sustainable development goals in terms of bringing in quality education to everybody and also bringing in peace, tolerance, I think Yuva too, in the long run, will definitely achieve this towards reaching that goal. So I wish Mr. Yuva Padmanabhan, Vinodji, and all the other members who are there in the platform to take this forward. So wishing you the very best and a very happy new year. I want to wish you all that Sarvesham Swasthir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, and let there be peace everywhere, let there be happiness everywhere, let there be completeness everywhere, and wishing you all. I just want to begin the session with a very small story. though I have prepared around 29 slides, and it's always that I get motivated when I see a huge audience, and it's like that for me that I derive the energy. Now it's a little difficult for me sitting in front of the computer, but I still appreciate the efforts with which all the leaders who have been participating here, they appear right on time to listen to all the speakers, and that shows the very beautiful quality of observing and listening, which makes one better in life achievements. I would just want to begin this session with a very small story where it's like a gratitude to teachers, and then just take you through the slides as fast as possible and leave the forum to question and answer sessions. And that would make sense because I have people from all walks of lives here practicing in different professions. Had it been only teachers, I could have gone deeper into all the components, but I want to be as generic as possible, but not leaving out on the important component of emphasizing on the important role that a teacher plays. So the story goes like this. Once again, I'm thankful to Mahatria, the founder of Infinitism, who has always told a very beautiful, inspiring story about a teacher who is more than a mother for anybody. I think many of you would have listened to the story, but still, for those, I always reiterate this to myself that yes, that is the kind of attitude we have to develop. And the story goes like this. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday comes, and every day the teacher goes to the school, and here comes another Monday. And today is again a Monday. And this is the story of a teacher by name Mrs. Thompson. So Mrs. Thompson walks into the classroom, and as she enters the classroom, and she always greets all the children by saying, "Love you all." But in the heart of hearts, she knows that she's lying. Because when she says, "I love you all," there is one boy in the class towards whom she doesn't have that much of love and affection because of some reason, probably the way he kept himself, the way he looked a little untidy. The teacher was always drawn toward the negative forces rather than ignoring the positive aspects of the child. And it so happened that end of the term came and end of the year came, and the teachers are supposed to write the progress report. And the teacher wrote that, yes, nothing can be done about this child, and I have nothing positive to say about this child. And you know how it is for any parent when they go for a parent teacher meeting. They would want to listen to something very positive about their children. But this teacher says, no, I have nothing positive to talk about this child. And the report card goes to the headmistress. As the headmistress was going through all the remarks, she calls out Mrs. Thompson and she says, "Come on, Mrs. Thompson, were you not able to find out at least one significant positive factor in the child?" The teacher says, "No, sorry, ma'am, I couldn't do that." Then the headmistress calls out for the administrative head. And then she says, "You collect all the report cards, the previous year's report cards of this particular child and give me." This boy was always called as Teddy. He was called by a nickname called Teddy. So the administrative officer gets all the earlier progress reports and she hands them over to Mrs. Thompson, who is the teacher. Mrs. Thompson goes through all the reports, and then the grade 3 report card says, uh, Teddy is one of the best and bright students of the class, the final remark. Again, she goes through the 4th standard report card. That also says a remark. And then comes the next grade where it says, Teddy is going down in his studies, probably because his mother is towards a terminal illness of cancer. And it's that only few more days to go. And finally, the report card, and it said that this child really needs the help. If we don't help this child now, then we will lose out on the child. The remark says so. Now the boy is in the 6th grade and tears start rolling down when Mrs. Thompson looks into the report card of this child. And then she says, yes, now I have got it. And then next day again, the Monday when she goes and greets all the children, this time again she says, love you all. And again she knows that she is lying to everybody because now she has started liking this Teddy more than anybody else. Now she neglects and ignores all the negative components of this particular child. And she starts picking out all the positive aspects of this boy and makes him feel that he is a component of the class. And again, the days go by, and there comes the last working day of the school. And everybody now, it's generally the children bring in gifts to the teacher towards the end of the academic year. And everybody gives some gift or the other to the teacher. And When she goes through all that, she finds a small gift that is little crumpled, that is rolled in a small crumpled paper, and she could immediately guess this is only from Teddy and nobody else. And she opens that and she finds that it was a half-filled perfume bottle and a bracelet from which the gems and the stones had come off. So this particular teacher, immediately she knew that it is from Teddy, and she sprays the scent on her and she wears the bracelet. And then there comes a comment from Teddy, yes, teacher, now I smell my mother. And then from then on, every next year, there will be a small card on our table on the Teacher's Day which says, I have met so many teachers, but nobody like you, Mrs. Thompson. You are always the best. And it goes on like this till he finishes the schooling. And somewhere the schooling is all done and years go by, the contact is lost. But every year she used to receive this letter as long as the boy was in the school. And it was later during a retirement, and one fine day there was a small envelope with a marriage invitation that reached her. And when she opens, she reads that letter. This is a very special letter to Miss Thompson. I have met so many teachers, so many days, all these days. Again, I endorse that you are the best teacher. And then it says, I have enclosed my marriage wedding invitation. How could I ever imagine my wedding to happen without my mother being present there? And here I have the tickets kept along with the invitation. And she somehow takes that and she goes to the church, and she wouldn't want to go and sit in the front, and she wants to be seated at the back seat of the church, but somehow the agents, they usher her in towards the front, and there she sees a chair which has a placard on it, and it says mother written on it. And the letter said Dr. Theodore, and she wondered, Dr. Theodore, PhD, when she received the invitation. So that time, then she realized this Teddy has got a doctorate, he has got a PhD. And then when she sees the chair with the placard written as mother, she was taken aback, and Teddy says, and he just gestures, and he says, please take your seat on this chair which says mother. You please be seated there. And she sits there with the aides from other helpers there. And as the wedding gets over, he brings his wife to Mrs. Thompson, and Teddy says, come on here, this is the teacher, Mrs. Thompson, who is more like mother to me, who is my mother. And without her, I would not have been what I am today, getting married to you. And tears rolled down his eyes. And then this Thompson says, come on, Teddy, you really taught me how important it is for me to walk into the school as a mother and not as a teacher to begin with. And this is a very, very, emphatic message that has to be realized by every teacher. And the realization that one has to be a mother to begin with when she approaches a child. You have to be a parent to the student first. Then comes the teacher assuming all the other roles. And this is where you have to open that small window and just get closer to the child, to know the child better, so that there is a rapport that is built between whatever role you may take as a facilitator, a guide, a teacher, a mother, a father, a coach, a mentor. And the teacher plays a multifarious roles. The teacher is a sculptor, the teacher is a ringmaster, the teacher is a script writer, the teacher is a director, the teacher assumes so many roles. I think a teacher has to be a perfect actor and actress in his or her life to understand and undergo all emotions and all expressions. If this has to happen, I have to experience all that as a teacher. Only then I can express that to the children. Yes, there is somebody standing before me as a role model. And there are so many nuances when it comes to teaching learning. And it is just not that teaching the 3 R's. And people keep changing the terminologies as the days go by. The C's, the 4 C's, the 3 R's, and it keeps changing every now and then. But then a teacher who is an efficient teacher, a teacher has to update herself. A teacher has to understand herself. A teacher has to observe first. Then the teacher has to reflect. And then the teacher has to practice. And this is a generic term. Right? Anybody can play the role of a teacher anywhere. I say even as a housewife for that matter, as a mother, preparing something in the kitchen. I can be teaching something to my child to prepare. Then I become the teacher. or I can learn something from my child in terms of even operating the gadgets. I become a student. The role reversal has to be understood very well by the teacher. Then it becomes easier for her to be walking along. And I think in one of the opening speeches, Mr. Vinod mentioned about Upadhyay. Correct? Am I right, Mr. Vinod? Yeah, Upadhyay. It's a co-traveler and a co-learner. Such a beautiful message it was. I can never remove that from my mind now. Though I have been into a little bit of learning Sanskrit and everything, that is one thing that has now, it's staying very green in my memory now. To whomsoever I have been talking, I say Upadhyay, co-learner, co-learner. So once you start observing and reflecting and start reiterating, that becomes your habit. And so also on the second day, I think one of the best messages that I could take from Sri Raviji was that you need to provide a healthy platform. When I say a healthy platform, it has to be uh, just not the health component. It has to be a social, emotional, and then the physical, the psychomotor. I think it's a holistic health aspect that has to be taken into when you say there has to be a holistic development. Then a teacher has to know how the learning happens, affecting all these domains, the head, the heart, and the hands. They are so very important. The teacher has to learn a little bit of theory of all this to provide that healthy platform and a learned environment. There has to be an intellectual excitement always for the teachers and also for the students. Only then there can be a mutual learning happening. It's like, playing a throw ball. If I'm going to keep the ball to myself, what is going to happen? I cannot enjoy the game. And so even if I throw the ball, it has to come back to me. It's like, giving back information back and forth. It's like two-way communication. And at the end of the day, as a teacher, I have to also understand the unspoken words of the children in the class. That is the meaning of real communication when you talk about 4 C's of the 21st century. It is not that you can go on talking about something. No, it is understanding. But now in a virtual field, it is a little difficult to understand the body movement, the body language, the body behavior. So many components go in understanding a child of the unspoken word in communication. Even as we talk with each other as adults, we sometimes fail to understand that little unspoken word, which is the real meaning for the word communication. So when all these factors have to happen for a teacher to understand, ingrain things better, a teacher has to evolve continuously. There has to be an evolution happening all the time. And how does a teacher evolve unless a teacher knows that I do not know this? How do I even tell a student that you need to be walking along this path to do something better unless I am able to assess for a progress of a child or progress of a learner? I'm putting it very generically because of people from different professions. Now, even as a coach or as a trainer or running an organization, if my employee failed to do something, I should reflect on myself as to where have I gone wrong in motivating the employee in terms of making him understand to do better. Has he realized his potentials the best way? Is there a way to make him realize his potentials? And how do I do that? All this has to be happening to the teacher. And there was a beautiful message yesterday by Mr. Um, Kadirvel, huh?
Okay, Kumaravel, yeah.
Kumaravel. He said about PhD, there has to be that passion. I have to have a strong intuition as a teacher for me to reach out to somebody and it happens. A strong intuition within me. Yes, this has to happen. Now, today, I have to be prepared to be conveying something to the audience. I cannot just take it for granted. I have to have that little fear which will make me do something faithfully. That little intention should be full of faith. It should be like we say Charu Bhashini in Sanskrit. Charu means it is something, very, very sweet in terms of when I speak, I have to think good. And when I speak something good, I have to do something good. It is a very beautiful word in Sanskrit as Charu Bhashini. When will I speak? Only when I have these good thoughts. But then how do I make all this happen as a teacher? I have to constantly reflect on my experiences to develop. And he said about hunger. When I say about teachers, I still would want to relate that I should have the appetite to learn. I should have the appetite to improve myself as a teacher. And for a teacher to perform, there are so many scopes. A teacher can sing, a teacher can dance, a teacher can enact, a teacher can learn, a teacher can present, a teacher can do wonders actually. As long as the teacher is able to be doing a multitasking, she is the best teacher. And once you create that little interest for the students to come to you, then the learning happens. We say a child has to be engaged. And how do I keep the child engaged? First, I have to engage him to come to me. He has to accept me as a teacher, the acceptance. How do I bring that acceptance? Not that the day one I start teaching, do this, do that. No, it's never the question of do this, do that. But then see that you win over the confidence and trust the child, and he starts believing in you. He should say, hey, there is somebody to listen to me. I can talk to this teacher freely. I can talk to this teacher. I can discuss about my issues. I can discuss about my problems. I don't think you need to have any counselor other than a teacher. The teacher has to be a counselor to begin with. Then you don't have to have any special schools for anybody for that matter. You don't have to have a special counselor for that, or you don't have to you have somebody. As long as you have that trust of, winning over their trust, and then they come to you in terms of sharing their views. And he said, discipline is a very, very, very thin line, that draws, differentiates from freedom. It is a very thin line that demarcates discipline and freedom. There is always a very narrow, thinnest line possible. But if I'm given that freedom, I should be able to maintain that discipline. Then there comes, your class is going to become livelier. Your life is going to become livelier, following everybody's role within that drawn discipline. No one says this is right or that is wrong. It is a question of saying about the consequences that one will face as the years go by in teaching him about, as I said, the socio-emotional skills are very important. The consequences have to be understood by the children themselves. Then how do I inculcate that right from the beginning? So I have to touch upon all these components as a teacher, and it becomes very, very important for me to really understand as to how I need to reflect on the areas where I can improve, areas I'm strong with, where I can share, where I can collaborate. How can I contribute to the development of the environment as such, the community as such, because the school plays a very vital role in bringing in all the stakeholders, the community, the students, and the teachers. I always say they are like an isosceles triangle with three strong vertices drawn. Then if I were to function like an isosceles triangle, then I think I need to give that much of importance in giving what the community needs, in giving what the students need. At the same time, I feel satisfied in taking up my career socially, professionally, and personally also. If that has to happen, then I have to indulge in some kind of a development, some kind of a constant improvement. And this happens by mere observation, reflection, and then you need to practice it, whether right or wrong. I need to start practicing. Only if I start practicing, I will know, yes, I'm able to do this. Hey, I'm not able to do this. You call this as metacognition these days. All the educationists, and for that matter, everybody says, teach children how to think. Don't tell them what they need to think. You take them through as to how to think. Set success criteria for everybody with definitive goals to be achieved. This is true for any employee, any employer. You define that this is the success criteria, this is the success goal, this is the target. If you do this, you can accomplish this. And then give them that little flexibility to learn in a classroom environment. At least till the middle school grade, I keep telling all my teachers and others involved, even in the management, that there should be some flexibility given in terms of maneuvering, going through. And of course, nothing can be done with reference to the national framework where it still goes by marks. But then there are little efforts that can be made from our end so that they also accomplish getting marks. And it is not the question of just getting the marks. There are scopes of, performing better. There are scopes of plunging into unorganized sectors, like how we listened to the speaker yesterday. Plunge into that unorganized sector as an adult. Find out the passion for yourself. Everything has to be felt actually. You need to experience what it is. Only then, even while reflection, I keep telling, it's a very simple task of making idli at home. Even housewives, I tell this. One day the idli comes out in a very fluffier manner. It's like a kushbu idli coming. One day it just sits flat on the idli plate. Now we need to reflect. Why is it happening so? Did I mix it the way it has to be mixed? Did I buy a different type of rice? Did I not allow it to get soaked for the duration that it had to get soaked? Or did it not ferment well? or what went wrong exactly. Now, when I'm reflecting on all this, I will know where the mistake has happened. So similarly, every incident that a teacher has to go through in the class, right from her preparation, right from her delivery, right from understanding the child, there could be days when she fails to understand a child. There could be a topic when it is going to be difficult for somebody. That's where you bring in a differentiation in the classroom. I have not even gone into my screen presentation. I don't think I'll be able to do that. I will leave it open because this is something where we talk about individual needs of the children in the classroom. When I say individual need, I need to understand what is needed for Vinodji, what is needed for Prakash Ramachandran, what is needed for Snigdha, what is needed for Karmuhuli. I need to understand and be prepared to serve that in the platter. It is like how you go for a buffet and then you pick up of something of your choice, what you are interested in. That is learning all about. Education is a very broad frame. I cannot say that education is compartmentalized always. It has to happen as science, maths, and chemistry. No, never. It has to be transdisciplinary. If it has to be transdisciplinary and integrated, how should my thinking be? How should my thinking process be? Should I get exposed to some of the learning teaching models? Yes, I should know something about the fundamentals of how learning happens so that I can build a very beautiful castle on top. I have to know the fundamentals. Unless my base is strong, I don't think I can ever build a castle on the whole thing. So never fail to learn on the basics and fundamentals of your profession. You need to know what exactly gets into teaching. These days when candidates come for interview, they are all engineering graduates, but then they say teaching is my passion. And the very next day, after 1 year, you will find them leaving the job and going because it is demanding these days. It is little, very, very time testing. And especially during this pandemic, teachers had to adapt. Teachers had to adopt and adapt. These are all the qualities that we should transfer down to the children also. If I am not going to do this, if the child is not going to see this happening in me, then how do you expect a child to do all that? So how do I then reflect that to a child? Even yes, my teacher is adapting to the way I needed it. Yes, the teacher is now trying to sing with me this song. Come on, the teacher is trying to paint with me. It could be as crude as possible, but the involvement that you are there to take care of has to be felt by the children at every stage. Like how the child has to feel the contributions of the father, the mother at home. I think everybody plays a similar role in terms of going towards somebody, and everybody has a definitive role to play. I could have shouted at my husband for something or at my son, but then I should reflect on why it so happened. How can I control that anger the next time? How do I maintain that environment even at home for me to be doing something as a mother or somebody who's going to be a teacher or a performer or as an artist? How should I keep my mind calm? Mindfulness is what is being taught today. So many components are coming these days. I think you should be aware of integrating all this into your own learning patterns and lifestyles. And then you can have a very beautiful frame that you create for yourself. Understanding even the new education policy has come now. It talks about all flexibility that is being given to all the children and lessening on rote memorization. Yes, we need to do that. You need to allow the child to express in as many different ways as possible. And I need to guide the child. Is this is your goal? Now come on. And this can happen for even high performers, average performers, and low performers. How do we push them? We have to make them realize their potentials. If we were to do that as a professional development center or the head of an institution, I need to decide on the developmental plan of my teachers in an organization as the head. What is it that I should look into in terms of lifting up my teachers' standards, teacher standards, student expectations in a classroom? If I were to do that, what are the other parameters that I have to look into? Is it that the teachers are not being able to access the resources that are available, or is it that the teachers lack little more knowledge that has to be given to them in terms of using the technology these days? I need to look at those things. But using the technology, how do I build up that rapport? As young as 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, the teachers have to take online classes. How do I build up that rapport? I talk about the physical contact, the physical intimacy in the story that I said. But how do I make that happen now in this virtual world? Is it possible? We need to say, yes, it is possible. I can have small chats. I can have small Instagram groups. There are 21st century skills which I need to practice. I cannot say no. Even today at the start of this session, I had to check myself twice whether was it sharing, whether where am I going wrong. I had to test, and Vinodji helped me in doing, making me more confident. That is where the attributes, major attributes of teachers, being very, very, very confident. I have to be responsible. I have to be reflective. I have to be innovative. I have to be engaged. These are the broad categories and the attributes of a teacher. There are so many that are possible, but I'm just defining it under these. If I'm going to be confident in knowing my content, if I'm going to be confident in facing the audience, if I'm going to be confident and have conviction in my own knowledge, I have learned it twice, thrice, I may still have doubts, but I need to say, yes, there is something more to be learned. And yesterday also he said beautifully, we have to unlearn and relearn. There's a beautiful theory called Kolb's theory of learning cycle, which I would want to associate to what he said yesterday. This unlearn and relearn with a clean slate of mind wherever you are. You can start all over your interest, irrespective of the age. I keep telling you, you can dance even at 60, you can dance at 70, you can sing at 70, but God has given you that potential within you. But how do you discover that potential? As a teacher. The very word teacher, I don't use at all. I always say learner, learner. The terminology, it's a teacher learner. I would really want to differ on that statement. But if I were to have that kind of a thing that, yes, I need to learn something more. Oh, this is fascinating. You have to learn something with a wow factor. They call this as Project Zero in Harvard University. They say Project Zero, and they are coming out with all visible thinking routines. The pattern of thinking has to be made visible, I believe. There is a set pattern of thinking which has to be taught to the children to practice. So how do I make this happen? Very simple example. That's what I said. Observe, you reflect, and you practice. I look at something and say, I just look at it for some time. Then I really wonder how this is possible. How this is possible for me to be seated here, and how this gets connected to something elsewhere. Then I start learning about the technology. Oh, the server picks up this, then this is kind of a bandwidth. You will start learning about the terms that you use with reference to technology. You start using the gadgets in a more engaging fashion. We talk about the computational skills. And I related that to my grandchildren with whom I spent 10 months last year. Because of COVID, I happened to be with them for 10 months in US. And they all said computational skills, computational skills. Any child, the skill is more important rather than teaching him the content. Anything is associated with skills. If I'm able to identify, learn that skill, that's what I said, psychomotor, cognitive, psychomotor, and my passion, my willingness to do, practice and learn. The computational skill is very, very easy in terms of when I apply to my grandchildren. It just has 4 pillars of learning in computational skills. It has one of decomposition, one you have to recognize the pattern, and the third one is some kind of abstraction that you have to do. And finally, you set a sequence, an algorithm. This is what is computational skill is, which all the elders do later on, depending on the problem they have. They break it down to smaller chunks, and then they recognize a pattern. When they recognize a pattern and abstraction is done, they focus only on things that are essential to be looked at while solving the problem. Then they start writing down the algorithm and the steps. And then they find out the consequences. What will happen if the sequence is changed? So I was just wondering with my grandchildren, how do I apply this as young as 2.5 to 6.5? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. How? I can always tell my children of grade 1 and grade 2 or grade 5 to say, come on now, you all think how a birthday party can be arranged, because they're all very fascinated about birthday party. This is what I said, see, wonder, reflect, and then you start acting on it. So they get enthused and then say, they may not be perfect in giving you the steps and all, but then you go with them with the flow. Yes, they tell you all the steps, you decompose that into smaller chunks, right? From decorating the hall with the balloons, and then organizing what will be the eatables, whom do you want to call, whether it's going to be a Zoom meeting or whether it's going to be in-person meeting. All that you start doing with the children, you give them an opportunity to participate to begin with. It has to be participatory. Without participation, I don't think learning can happen. It has to be always mutual. The knowledge, skills, and understanding and attitudinal skills all have to be shared. Knowledge is a treasure that has to be shared. The கணறு தண்ணி எப்படி வெளியில இறக்க இறக்க தான் ஊறும். அது அப்படியே வச்சிருந்தா அதுல எல்லாம் அப்படியே படியும். அதனால இருக்கிற knowledge we have to learn, unlearn, and share with everybody. So I was talking about decomposition. Then comes recognizing a pattern. Even for a small children, if any of you would have gone through the preschool books, you know, of somebody related to you or through your children's own life growth, there would have been worksheets which would have said A, B, A, B, A, B, find out the next pattern. So children will automatically recognize the pattern, but not applying the logic, but they will find out. Now, as they become elders, it so happens that they will be given complicated issues and they have to visualize and they say what number will come next. There has to be a logic applied. But at that particular level, the child is able to recognize the pattern. Then comes abstraction. When I say abstraction, the child has to really now start looking into terms like superhero is friendly. I like these cartoon characters. The child associates the values of those characters without even realizing the superheroes, the qualities of the heroes. That abstraction is already done in a child. And then the sequence, algorithm is already set in a child. The child gets up in the morning, brushes the teeth, and then you say you have the breakfast, get ready to the school. So the pattern is already written in a child's mind. The child has to find out the consequences. What if I'm going to get up late? How am I, the order of events going to be in a day? It is very simple. But then this has to be made visible. And teachers have to make a conscious efforts in instilling these skills in children so that, yes, they develop these skills and then they relate it to the concepts later as they grow to the later years of developmental stages. They will be able to associate things better. So as far as possible, if as a teacher, if I'm able to give real life context and other related situations for them to be experiencing, that is called experiential education. They always say it is not the experience that teaches something. It is being reflective on that experience. You have to reflect on the experience that gives you an element of joy for you to be learning something new. So it goes like this. So the confident, I covered that, then the reflective, and then the responsiveness, the responsibility. Everybody has, the onus is on me as an individual. Nobody can take away my happiness. It is within me. I cannot blame anybody. I cannot say the child is not studying. I cannot say, no, I'm not able to teach. No, the responsibility is on me to see that everybody is made happy. That's what I said, a happy environment. How do I create that happy environment? I need to understand the components of the happy environment. I'm responsible for that, and I'm responsive to others. I have to have a listening ear for everybody as the colleagues in a school environment. As a teacher, I have to listen, just not the students alone. I can have a sharing with my peers. There has to be an openness and then reflective. Hey, come on, I should be in a position to go and talk to somebody. I can even tell a child, yes, I'm not able to get this. Will you help me in teaching me how to do this? Yes. There is nothing wrong in saying that, yes, I don't know this. I want to learn more on this. I can go and seek the help of somebody who is good at something. This is called team teaching. The terminology is very simple. This is called team teaching. So when I say team teaching, you come out with more contributions to a collaborative learning. These are all the terms that we use. Yes. So responsiveness, and then comes little bit of innovativeness. I have to be innovative in using the resources. I always tell, when I start cooking at my home, I use the turmeric powder. I tell my teachers, I've also given this as a hint in one of the books I wrote as tips and tools for teachers. A little pinch of turmeric powder, how can I use it as an excellent resource for children from preschool level to grade 12 level? I may use it as a primary colors in an art. I may use it as an auspicious element in religious celebrations and functions. Again, I relate it to all the disciplines and all the other facets of learning. And then I can say that it is a small a bulb that grows beneath the soil. I come to the classification with that little turmeric. And then I talk about the medicinal components that you find in turmeric powder, the chemical components. As I take them through the higher grades, I tell them what are the important chemical components that can be seen and how that can be related to a little pinch of your masala box in the kitchen. So it is how you start making use of these as small resources and create an interest. There can be a small cooking class with the turmeric powder, and your talk, your the association can start with a little cooking in the class. It need not necessarily happen with the medicinal effects of turmeric powder, the chemical composition of this particular salt. No, I can even have a cooking class to begin with, to make it lighter. I should know when to unplug myself in a classroom situation. So I have to be little innovative in doing the whole thing, and then engaged. When I say engaged, I have to tell there has to be a purpose. It's not that the child is engaged in moving around somewhere, doing something, listening, scribbling. No, I have to be purposefully engaged in something. That's what I said. When you teach the computational skills to children at a very young age, when they are surrounded by gadgets and tools, they start exploring that as a very engaging tool. And there are instances when I have seen children, when you give them the rubric to play, the cube, there are children who will dismantle the whole thing and would want to assemble everything back to the same shape that it was to begin with. Then if this is kind of engaging activity that I'm going to give a child, the child learns. The child learns how to sequence the, even bicycle for that matter. If I were to teach physics with two tires and the air pressure inside the tire and how the momentum is gained and what are the different parts of a bicycle, I can even call a mechanic to my classroom. How does it make a difference? I'm enthused to become a mechanic now using the tools, the powerful tool. Somebody can be, enthused. The spark can come from a simple mechanic in a roadside. He becomes a hero. He becomes a hero for him. Some can indulge in adventurous bike riding. You never know. You take him to a shop. Allow them to watch the programs on television. I keep telling right from those days. Don't tell your children, stop watching, stop watching. Tell them the components of even film making for that matter. If I were to become a director, what are the things that I need to know? If I were to become an actor, what are the components? If I were to become a lyricist, if I'm passionate, how do I even learn to appreciate and enjoy? These are all the aesthetic values that one has to be taught. While reading a poem, how should I read a poem? How do I add that aesthetic value to reading the poem? How do I enjoy? How do I appreciate? I think all these are lost these days somehow. But as teachers, if we reiterate, yes, no, I should bring in this component, I should bring in this element. There is so much joy in reading out something, reciting something, in modulating something, in presenting something. Presentation is a very common factor for anything. You go to a boardroom meeting, you need to present things the way it has to be told. So everything is a skill that has to be practiced, that has to be taught, that has to be learned. So the child has to be engaged the way the child likes to be engaged with in learning the whole process. And when it becomes transdisciplinary and when the process of thinking is advised to them as metacognition, I said, you lay the road for them. Tell them the success criteria. This is how you start. This is where you go. And sky is the limit. Tell them there are no boundaries, that's going to arrest your potentials. You need to realize and jump up high. And I always tell, if you know that you have the talent, never hide the talent. Even as an adult, never hide the talent. Start doing that. Even at any age you feel you have to do. Life is to live to the fullest potentials that God has gifted you with. You need to maximize all that, and you have to spread the joy. You have to spread that across. And if I were to do that, I won't again say I'm a teacher, but I'm still the best human being who will at least, it's like empowerment and development. I think as women folk, I always advocate that you need to get empowered and you need to contribute to the development. And as rightly said, the women folk have to contribute. In a family, even Gandhiji and the earlier, so many philosophers have said, if the woman is educated in a house, she need not be going for work at all. But she can be contributing so much for a holistic development in terms of what a child has to be and the values, the role models. Sometimes they say, ma'am, do you impart value education in school? Sometimes the parents take the lead role in lending the values to the children, and it becomes secondary. The teachers need not infuse the values every time. Everywhere there have to be role models, parents as role models, teachers as role models who play multifarious roles. So in adjusting and adapting, so the broad attributes which have to be realized by a teacher, I have to be confident, I have to be responsible, I have to be reflective, I have to be innovative, and I have to be engaged. I always say these are like 5 fingers for me. And it's a transdisciplinary one, and it keeps, like, it's like a web. When you start talking about something, when you allow your thought processes to go like a spider's web, that is where the contributions come from everybody. And you start wondering, hey, is there a link to this? I like this component of learning so much, let me get deeper into this. Oh, is it that it is connected this way in sports? Come on, let me get into this. And the commentary, while many of them watch the cricket commentary, I might be interested in commenting on some action that is happening on the ground. Why not I try like that? And I learned the terminology. And these days, let me tell you, even the servant maids have learned 2 words. What could that be? One is, what is that? Lockdown. They have learned this word. All of them have learned one, lockdown and corona and everything. They are familiar with that. So the situation sometimes forces you to learn, but sometimes the passion within you drives you to learn something. And can I just share the screen for a minute, or you would want question answer session? Vinodji.
Uh, I think if you have covered the complete presentation, you can share the screen 5 minutes, and then we'll start the
Yeah, I
Q.
will share it very fast so that those who are as teachers can just go through that.
Please, please.
I'll just share the screen. Yeah. Is it seen?
Yes, yes, it's visible. So I think for the benefit of everybody, madam, we will share this presentation along with your video on the website.
Yeah, you may use it. You may use it whichever way you want.
Yeah.
I have no objection.
So I will request everybody to have their questions and questions ready.
Yeah.
So one of the things I would like to ask, madam, thank you, wonderful the way you collaborated motherhood with teaching to start with.
Yeah.
I feel it's a very powerful, analogy that you have given with the with Teddy's example.
Yeah.
Uh, it never comes to me as a surprise when you go back and ask children who was your favorite teacher. There's always a couple of names that come across, and usually the teachers are who have been a mother to the child, and it's not more about the subject than anything else. It's such a powerful connotation, and I really feel thanks to Corona, this element is missing.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
physical touch, that physical touch, that personal space that the teacher gives is missing.
Exactly.
So I don't know how far this will take as a gap, but I wish to understand from you what are the methods in which such a thing can be avoided. When of course everybody is going to come together at a later date. Maybe I'm looking at 6 months to 1 year. Schools are going to restart with physical interface. But in this gap period, do you think there are any methods by which teachers should be using to keep that personal attachment going on with the students?
Yes, I fully agree with you. And there are possible ways of getting connected through your WhatsApp in smaller groups, or through your FaceTime in Facebook. All these facilities give you, but then you cannot have the entire 30 or 40 children to be talking to you. You can indulge in small group conversations with them personally, for which a teacher has to devote extra time. She cannot say, I have to teach only these hours of teaching online. I have to go beyond that in finding out how the children are responding to my online classes. Some children don't even appear on a camera. I've seen many children towards the higher grades. They purposefully they'll switch off the camera and go. They will not even answer. Then how do I bring them into my fold? I need to have a separate conversation with the parents, except that I'm not physically present. But I have seen in many of the countries abroad, teachers have started visiting the houses of the children, especially when you talk about the younger grades. They have a bonding and attachment. At least with the higher grades, they do not bother so much. They become independent learners. But teachers have started visiting, and even in spite of Corona, they go and sit in the backyard, in the lawn, where they could gel with such children who are feeling left out. There could be so many reasons. Single parenting, and there could be so much of pressure for the father who has lost his job in this pandemic. So there are so many disturbances at home, which could be the reason for the child when I'm not providing a healthy environment. Is what I mean by that. It is not that staying healthy with immunity. The health component in terms of providing an ambience at home, a congenial environment at home, a safe environment in terms of everything is lacking. Then I need to find out. I need to build that trust. Many have not even seen the students. Now, the new academic year is such that many teachers have not even seen the faces of the children. Many have flown from different parts and they have become students of a new class. They have not even seen the faces of the teacher. Then how do I get in? I have to make smaller groups where it is possible for me to have a duo. I can have a Google Duo. I can have small chat groups where it is mutually possible. And there are few applications and tools available where they collaboratively work and post, and we can exchange our ideas and views. And we can always find out why there is a lag in somebody's participation, why the child is not participating. Sometimes what happens, a close friend of that particular child will reveal more than what the mother or somebody else would say. So you need to also find out as to what the boy will be able to say, man, his mic is not working. How is he able to say that sitting in one place, stating his mic is not working? Then how close are they? How close is the relationship? What is the clue that I can get? Where could I intervene? There should be interventional strategies. It need not happen towards the end. The interventional strategies I should know as a counselor. Using the tools, I should now start doing it. Let me have extra time with the child. Let me talk, or at least now this situation is little relaxed where I can find out time and go and meet with some distancing that is possible for me. But the teacher has to walk that extra mile. That walking that extra mile, that is where my responsibility comes, my passion comes as a teacher. Then she will be remembered not for what she has taught, but for the personal interest she has taken, that she will be remembered. The child might know by the touch of the button all the information, but that little care, at home is missing for the child, which this teacher is going to kindle, and the child falls back into the groove to learn.
We have a question from Ravi Shankar ji. He seeks to ask what the teachers have to learn to become facilitators.
Teachers have to learn so many components. That's what I said. It is just not one component. The teacher has to learn how a learning happens from the cognitive domain, how the learning happens from the affective domain, how the learning happens from the psychomotor domain, and what kind of a real help is needed for a particular child. It is a difficult task to identify the need of the learner and then facilitate the child depending on his need. To identify the need itself, there are techniques, there are trends. The teacher has to put in effort. The teacher has to have some kind of an assessment, a periodic observation. Then I call myself a facilitator in helping the child to walk with me. Assessment is a very beautiful term in education that says assidere is a Latin word, sitting beside, which means I don't make him take up tests. You write the answer, let me check. No, I just sit beside him. I facilitate somebody. I facilitate a child, but there is so much of learning has to happen depending upon the need of the learner, the age appropriateness of the learner, the topic with which the teacher is dealing with. It could be any emotional topic. It could be a topic of disinterest to the child. But then I need to know how to push him through all that and still teach him all those attributes that I said are very important in life for him to be shining successfully at the end of the day. And it is not just getting into IIT or medicine, but it is beyond that with a lot of scopes that a teacher has to be telling him, facilitate him. Okay, you are not able to do this. Are you interested in doing this? Now there is a scope for you. Then I have to upgrade my knowledge on the possible availabilities of learnings that are possible with a particular subject. It could be as simple as art. But then what are the aspects that can happen with art? Why not, if the child is interested in art, make him an art studio, a school for art studio can be opened up. Yes, push him into that. Make him pass through that open schooling system where it becomes easier for him to get through the exams for the sake of getting the certificate, but I shine as a great artist. Music, a music school. So I think we should have components of all this where there are efficient people in helping them. That is where you become a facilitator in identifying the needs, which is a tough task for a teacher unless the teacher plunges, the teacher makes an effort to learn. it is difficult to really practice. I need to observe. I need to learn. Come on, I need to become a facilitator. I am no more a teacher. I have to become a facilitator to help. Facilitate what? It could be anything depending on the child's perspective, growth perspective. When I say growth perspective, it affects all the domains. So I have to understand that in more detailing. And if I'm unable to intervene and help in very special needs children, then there are people who are specialized in that field. I then say, yes, come on, this is the time you have to have the intervention. Take them to this first. You need to motivate. You can't condemn a child just like that you can't do. We talk about inclusive policy in schools. Then how do I motivate a child with a support system in the school and bring him along with other children, give him that opportunity and still make him feel a part of the entire community? That is where the inclusivity comes, inclusiveness comes. Unless I become a facilitator and know how to differentiate and make him a part of my learning, every child has to be respected. And that self-esteem and self-responsibility comes only when I give him a responsibility. I make him feel that, yes, you can do, you are responsible for that. I need to identify his potential. I facilitate him to become a leader for a particular moment in a class. And that makes him very confident. And there he starts progressing. And there are so many facilities available. You should know whom to approach at the right time. But just not condemn at the beginning of the year stating, no, you are not capable of this. You have this learning disability. You have this ability. I will call a counselor. I will do this. No, I always say teacher is the first counselor. You need to observe consistently. Don't brand any child on anything. Facilitate a child. Help a child to achieve incremental progress. That's why a progress report is called a progress report. It cannot have a steep jump from the last rung of the ladder to the topmost ladder. No, it has to be slow, incremental progress. When I know the success criteria, when I know that I'm able to climb the success ladder, now this is where I am. It is endless, I said, and you touch the sky one day. You believe in the stars and you end up somewhere. And you have to give that motivation plays a lot of influence and motivating, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. A teacher has to be motivated intrinsically to motivate even the children. These are all finer attributes of teacher, which comes with that confidence or a teacher. Yes, I'm going to be motivating today. I'm going to be with a smile on my face, come what may. Like they say, it's like faith on God. It will act like they say success should never get into your mind and that sorrow and sadness should not get into your heart. Then how do I cushion that? There is little spirituality in our learning. It has to happen. I have to link the subjective learning and the objective learning. I say that faith, the little faith, and whomsoever you call as a faith, your mother, the nature, the God, the sun, you have that little intention and the faith, and you put it in the head, the success will not get into your head. That cushion will keep it safe so that you are always humble. That humility. Education is what? You need to respect that. You cannot say, I know everything. Every field has so much to delve deeper, and you have to explore that pearls of wisdom. It's enormous in God's creation. How do I even wonder at God's creation? Have I taught my child to wonder at God's creation? I need to do that. And similarly, when I have that faith and any sorrow, any sadness, it will not get deeper into my heart. I will know how to keep growing with my profession better. Sometimes walking into the classroom with whatever has happened at home, it will make the teacher not be what she is otherwise. There are. So, but we should learn to have all these components also practiced. Only when I start reflecting and practice will I be able to be a very good facilitator at all the times. And anything we need to reflect and practice. I keep saying is you keep reflecting and practice. And it has any other question?
There are two more questions, but in the interest of time, if you can keep it quick, I don't want these important questions to be missed.
Yeah.
This is coming from Natarajan ji, Chairman MD, South India of Invest. Madam, great to see your passionate presentation. Well done in your illustrious career so far. You have covered from pre-digital era to current digital era. How have teachers evolved in this process in their teaching methods?
I think teachers have really learnt a lot, even with the small mobile, with the inability to connect. Teachers were put into some kind of stress to begin with, but then now they prefer to work from home, to be very precise.
That's I think that's a boon and a bane both. Only time will tell how.
Yeah, how? Yes.
One last question before we have vote of thanks from Prakash ji. Does it mean this has to be child-oriented education as compared to teacher-oriented, syllabus-oriented or institution-oriented education? Is it what you mean? This is coming from Ravi
It
Shankar.
has to be learner centric. I won't even say child. I will use a term, generic term, learner centric always. When I say learner centric, it depends on the community where the learner is coming from. So the syllabus, the curriculum can be based on the community that requires. It varies from a tribal area. It varies from a tier B, a tier C, and it's like the locale and the kind of background from which the children come. So I need to modify things that way. I call it as learner centric. The learner can be from any strata of socioeconomic background. I need to know how to adjust to that. So my syllabi can be crafted according to that, which means it has to be very flexible. But at the same time, I give back something to the community from where the child is coming. If he's coming from a fisherman folk community, he might at the most would want to speak fluently, that is the kind of thing for him. If they see their children speaking in English 4 or 5 sentences, he feels happy, but then there should be meaning in making him speak confidently. Then I have achieved something. But there should be a purpose. There should be a meaningful presentation of those 4 sentences. I should add value to what he's speaking also at the same time.
So it's almost 6, madam. Thank you so much for your wonderful.
I think, Vinodji, I am not able to show the presentation. You may give it to anybody whom you want to.
Yes. We will mail it. I'll make sure that it reaches
Because
everybody.
each component is a wide thing by itself, and it's like I will go on and on and on, even if I open.
We are going.
I'm feeling sorry that I have not even shown you the slides. If
It only is a beautiful representation of how less is 1 hour for such powerful topic for all of the people. So I think Yuva as a platform is going to be available to take more time, personal time, social time, and official time for everybody. We will make sure that all these videos are available on the Yuva platform along with downloadable presentations.
Yes. It should reach everybody. At the end of the day, that is the intention.
As soon as the education week finishes, all the presentations will be uploaded onto the Yuva platform, both in Intellect Talks and our platform as event. So thank you, madam. I now invite Prakash ji for a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much, Vinod ji. Thank you very much for all the great stalwarts who are participated in this great. And thank you very much, Mrs. Meenakshi madam, for your great, inspiring and impressive and very motivational, informative speech on teachers and the teachers, importance of the teachers' school. And as you said, the teachers are the most perfect guide. There is no doubt about it. So they are the most valued and respected guru. And they are, as you said rightly, they are the co-travelers. The teachers will always travel throughout their lifetime. All the students, whatever the level they reach, they never forget in their lifetime, right from their kindergarten to the masters. So teachers are taking much interest in learning to their students. Really, that is a very beautiful thing, and they are evergreen in their memories. So all the students' life, this child's education and from the school education and continuously followed with this college education, everything is ever memorable, and it takes a major role in designing them, in developing them to reach their height. As we all see, teachers is the only profession, teaching is the only profession is trying hard to develop the students community, so till they create the top and best record in their life. So as we all know, teachers the only great noble profession, and they always feel happy when their students reach the highest position. So in all other profession, one person is jealous on others. only the exemption is only for the teachers and no other profession is eligible for this. And such a really great, memorable and highly respected profession is teachers. So teaching profession is a great yajna, you can say. So it is the greatest sacrifice to society by dedicating themselves to for the development of the society. And teachers are doing both role of a teacher and also as a great loving mothers. So because they take the major designing in them in their character and their attitude and interest in learning things. So they dedicate themselves to the development of society. So hence they have got a great responsibility in designing the students for the effective utilization for the community and society development. So whether the student is daily studying the homework or thing for development or not, the teacher has to compulsorily go through all the whatever the developments, and they have to enrich their knowledge to teach their students to enrich to a latest technology for their understanding. That is the greatest thing. So that's why, as he said, as long as the only in teaching education, they say whatever they teach others, their knowledge will get enriched. But in all other, even if you have a lot of money, when you give, it will reduce. Only in such a teaching thing, it has got a very greatest blessing that more and more we teach others, our knowledge will also get improved so that we can be able to develop more students for their intelligence improvement. So really, they have a greater role. And the teacher, hence, every teacher has a major effective role to play in the current scenario, and that their teachers' school will be a greater value. As we know, the value of the teachers, and every teacher has to design themselves to reach and satisfy the expectations of the students' community. So it is better. This, I'm sure the teachers' school will help them to shine them in a greater level. Thank you very much for the great opportunity. I have to thank Mr. Badmanamanji for this great thing for the education development, and also for Vinodji and other team of members who are cooperating and for success of this thing. Thank you very much. Pranams.
Thank you, everybody. And we will now close this session. Thank you for your time spent. At the end of these sessions, all these videos will be available online. Up till tomorrow, we will again be having another stalwart making a presentation. See you, everybody, and namaste.
Vinodji, I just want to end up with this small song. I always love singing. Adu andha paravai pola vaazha vendum, idho indha kadalai pola aada vendum, ore vaanile, ore mannile, ore geetham, urimai geetham paaduvom. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go out with that energy till tomorrow.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you very much all.